You might think boredom is a mental void, but your brain is far from inactive. During boredom, the default mode network, DMN, lights up, which is a network of brain regions including the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, and angular gyrus. Surprisingly, a study from the University of British Columbia found that these areas consume more energy, up to 30% more than during focused tasks. This network is key for daydreaming, self-reflection, and creativity. Boredom, often seen as unproductive, actually fuels the DMN, which is essential for complex problem-solving and imagination. The next time you're bored, know that your brain is energetically weaving ideas. Contrary to popular belief, boredom doesn't mean your brain is shutting down. Instead, it triggers an increase in dopamine fluctuations, according to a study published in Nature Neuroscience. These fluctuations can lead to heightened creativity and idea generation. When dopamine levels rise and fall, your brain's reward system becomes more sensitive to new stimuli. This heightened sensitivity can lead to creative insights and novel solutions to problems. This process explains why great ideas might strike during mundane activities like showering. Boredom, by inducing dopamine variability, activates your brain's innovation circuits, challenging the myth of mental stagnation. Your prefrontal cortex, often hailed as the seat of executive function, doesn't go offline during boredom. Instead, it shifts focus. Research from Stanford University demonstrates that the prefrontal cortex engages in high-level abstraction and planning during periods of low external stimulation. This state encourages divergent thinking, where your mind explores multiple possibilities and scenarios. Far from being idle, your prefrontal cortex is busy constructing hypothetical futures and solving complex problems in the background. Boredom fosters a mental environment where your prefrontal cortex rehearses various cognitive tasks, preparing you for future challenges. If you've ever felt aimless when bored, it's your brain's way of navigating the default mode. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience reveals that boredom enhances connectivity between the DMN and the limbic system. This connection integrates emotional processing with self-referential thoughts. Your amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex, parts of the limbic system, become more attuned to internal cues, possibly prompting introspection and self-awareness. This introspective state can lead to personal growth and emotional regulation. Boredom thus acts as a catalyst, merging emotional depth with cognitive narratives in your brain. The myth that boredom is purely negative overlooks its impact on habit formation. A study by the University of Chicago found that during boredom, the basal ganglia, your brain's habit center, becomes more active. This activity primes you for developing new routines and behaviors. When faced with a lack of stimulation, your brain's basal ganglia seek novel patterns to establish. This mechanism underlies why new hobbies or interests often emerge from boredom. In essence, boredom is your brain's way of reorganizing and adapting, setting the stage for new habit loops to take root. Boredom's impact on your hippocampus is profound. When boredom sets in, cortisol levels fluctuate, affecting hippocampal dendrite density. A study from the University of California found that prolonged boredom reduces dendritic complexity, compromising learning and memory. Cortisol, a stress hormone, binds to receptors in the hippocampus, altering synaptic connections. This process can impair memory consolidation and retrieval. Interestingly, brief periods of boredom can enhance neurogenesis, as neurons adapt to novel stimuli. The dual role of boredom showcases its ability to reshape hippocampal networks, emphasizing the need for balance in mental stimulation to preserve cognitive health. Boredom affects the amygdala-prefrontal connectivity, modulating emotional regulation. When your environment lacks novelty, the amygdala's activity decreases, reducing emotional arousal. A study from the University of Cambridge highlights this reduction, showing that boredom shifts focus to internal emotional states. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function, engages in reappraisal, dampening the amygdala's response. This mechanism allows for introspection and emotional recalibration. The interaction between these regions facilitates adaptive emotional responses, fostering resilience. Boredom, by modifying amygdala prefrontal pathways, can strengthen emotional self-awareness, providing a neural basis for emotional growth during idle periods. In boredom, dopamine receptor dynamics in your striatum undergo notable changes. A study in the Journal of Neurochemistry reveals that prolonged boredom leads to dopamine receptor downregulation, diminishing reward sensitivity. This downregulation occurs as your brain seeks balance, adjusting to decreased stimuli. Interestingly, this process can enhance motivation for novel experiences, driving the search for new challenges. While boredom reduces immediate reward sensation, it primes your brain for future exploration. Dopamine receptor modulation during boredom illustrates how your brain prepares for engagement, making it a crucial player in behavioral adaptation and learning. The basal ganglia, critical for habit formation, respond dynamically to boredom. Research from MIT demonstrates that during boredom, the basal ganglia's habit encoding mechanisms amplify. This amplification primes your brain for new pattern recognition and routine development. As your environment loses novelty, the basal ganglia seek alternative pathways, facilitating the establishment of new habits. This process involves increased plasticity in synaptic connections within the striatum. Boredom-induced changes in the basal ganglia underscore your brain's adaptability, highlighting its readiness to forge new behavioral circuits, demonstrating that boredom is not merely a passive state, but a foundation for growth. Your brain's default mode network, DMN, activity surges during boredom, enhancing creative potential. A study from Harvard University shows increased connectivity between DMN regions, like the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex. This heightened connectivity supports complex idea generation and problem solving. During periods of low external stimuli, the DMN integrates past experiences and potential future scenarios, fostering innovative thinking. This orchestrated network activity is crucial for spontaneous thought processes. By activating the DMN, boredom provides your brain the freedom to wander, setting the stage for creative breakthroughs and intellectual insights. Chronic boredom presents a stark contrast to acute boredom, with distinct neural consequences. While acute boredom can prompt creativity, chronic boredom, as studied by King's College London, leads to reduced brain plasticity. Prolonged boredom diminishes neurotrophic factors like BDNF, critical for neuronal growth and survival. This reduction results in less adaptable neural circuits, potentially impacting cognitive flexibility. Chronic boredom's long-term effects may increase vulnerability to mood disorders, such as depression. The subtle shift from short-term creativity to long-term neural rigidity underscores the delicate balance your brain navigates, emphasizing the need for varied mental engagements to maintain neural health. Popular psychology often oversimplifies boredom, but brain imaging studies tell a different story. Functional MRI studies reveal that during boredom, the prefrontal cortex shows reduced activation in regions associated with attention. This decrease allows for increased DMN activity, facilitating introspection and idea incubation. However, excessive reliance on these states can lead to attentional lapses. A study by the University of Wisconsin highlights that persistent boredom can impair attentional networks, reducing focus over time. Unlike self-help narratives, neuroscience shows that boredom's impact is nuanced, affecting attention and creativity differently based on frequency and duration. Boredom's long-term impact on mental patterns is profound. A study from the University of Toronto found that recurrent boredom alters your brain's habit loops. The basal ganglia during chronic boredom may solidify maladaptive routines, such as procrastination. This entrenchment can make behavioral change challenging, as the brain becomes accustomed to repetitive, unstimulating patterns. The neural pathways formed during boredom can become resistant to change, promoting a cycle of inactivity. Understanding this mechanism reveals why breaking free from entrenched habits can be difficult, and how boredom shapes your brain's tendency towards routine perseverance over time. Boredom and its influence extend beyond creativity, touching on emotional resilience. Research from Yale University reveals that boredom can recalibrate emotional processing pathways. During idle periods, your brain's limbic system integrates new emotional experiences, enhancing emotional intelligence. This recalibration allows for more adaptive responses to stressors. However, if boredom becomes prolonged, these pathways may overemphasize negative emotions, heightening anxiety and stress susceptibility. This duality in boredom's impact on emotional pathways emphasizes the importance of engaging in diverse activities to maintain emotional balance. Your brain continuously adapts, reshaping its emotional framework through varying boredom experiences. While boredom is often maligned, it can redefine your brain's perspective. A study from the University of Virginia highlights that moderate boredom increases self-reflective thought by 20%. This increase provides a unique space for personal insight and goal reassessment. The neural quietude during boredom, by reducing external noise, enhances internal dialogue, facilitating clearer self-understanding. This process, although often overlooked, allows your brain to recalibrate priorities and values. Boredom, through its understated influence, becomes a powerful tool for self-discovery, demonstrating that inactivity can lead to profound personal revelations.